Reddit, what is one thing that you hated that a guest did in your house? Rearranged my kitchen cupboards. Put a chicken wing on the felt of my pool table and broke my window. Please tell me the broken window was from you throwing him through it for putting a chicken wing on your pool table. My mother-in-law seems to go out of her way to leave half-empty teacups in random places around my house. The aliens are allergic to tea. You'll be thanking her later. My best friend and her 16-year-old son came to stay with me for a week last summer. After they left, I was cleaning the house because the little f-wit was a slob and there were chip bags and cereal bits in every corner of the living room. He slept on the couch. As I was washing the floor, behind the radiator I found a Gatorade bottle. It spilled as I reached for it, filled with pee, no cap. Stole things after begging to stay on my couch. My girlfriend even cooked you breakfast, you prick. A woman who was once one of my closest friends would constantly crash at my apartment. One weekend I left the key for her but said my place was a mess. Please don't let anyone else stay. She invited 5 people to crash in my apartment. People I didn't even know. When I came home there were beer cans everywhere, cig butts, etc. She's the only friend I've ever dumped. She would come into the city and call me to meet for coffee when I'd show up at the Starbucks near the station. B would have a backpack and after coffee would say, "Oh, can I crash at your place tonight? There's a party at so and so's place." I remember the one time I said no. You cannot. The look on her face. Priceless. She was just rude. Got drunk at a Christmas party I threw. Made fun of my disabled brother, then threw up behind my carefully decorated Christmas tree and covered it up with a large present so I wouldn't notice. I noticed. For a second I thought you were the one who did all that. Broke the toilet and didn't say anything even after it flooded the house and I had to repair all the damage. They could have just said, "Sorry, I broke the toilet," but instead they let it run until it fricked up everything. I had house guests do the same. I came home in the morning to a few inches of water all over the living room floor. These dongs were sitting on the couch with their feet in the water and acted completely oblivious. Luckily our rental insurance covered it, but it still freaking sucked. Unplug the music my roommate had playing and start playing his own. My friend does this all the time and it annoys me so bad. Also skips songs halfway through. Also changes the TV channel in the middle of shows. Oh, and he changes the radio station while I am driving my car. Doesn't even ask. Biggest ass at times. My in-laws stayed at our place while we were on vacation last year. 3 days before we were due to return, the air conditioner stopped working. Did they attempt to figure out why? Did they call us to let us know so we could have somebody take a look at it? Number. They just packed up and went to my sister-in-law's house, in my wife's van, leaving their 2 small dogs in the house, because she can't have pets where she lives. How thoughtful. We return home close to midnight after a 10-hour drive to a house that's about 85-90 degrees inside, and dog crap and pee everywhere. And as if that's not bad enough, my mother-in-law flat out refused to come help clean it up and demanded we bring her dogs to her or she wouldn't tell us where she hid my wife's keys. My wife actually had to call the police on her mother to get her van back. A retired couple used to live next door and their grandkids always visited. I kind of became friends with the son that was my age. We were 10 or 11 at the time of this story. He did act like a dong sometimes, but not enough for me to hate him. Anyway, one day we were in my room playing with Pokemon cards and I show him the awesome new Blastoise I got from a booster pack earlier that week. He thought it was really cool too and mentioned a few times that he wished he had one also. We put our cards away and he goes back next door. A few hours later, his sister, about a year younger, knocks on my door and I answered it. She's holding up a Blastoise card and said, "Mikey showed this to me earlier and I know he didn't have one before." I was kind of shocked and went to check my deck, and sure enough, my Blastoise was missing. I thanked her a lot and never hung out with him again. Killed my dog. We became good friends in college, and as he is from India, we invited to host him over winter break. He proceeded to feed my dog literally everything, from treats to fruits to chocolate. We told him to stop after the first time, but he continued to do it. Scamp died on the 1st of January. Cousins over for my father's funeral. Created a scene after returning from the funeral about can't sleep without a light on. but it needs to be really dim. I ignored. Then got harrowed with, can't you find one dim bulb and put it in this room? Right? My father died this morning, and a freaking bulb should be my priority. Response: the dim bulb is already in the room. My mill would constantly pull gobs of TP off of the roll and place it inside toilets so to silence the sound of pee hitting the water. We would go through a roll of TP, the one roll equals 3 rolls type, a day. I kept wondering WTF was going on until she didn't flush one day. She also clogged the toilet multiple times because of this BS. It made for quite a discussion. A person went into the bathroom and crapped next to the toilet. An uninvited guest lured an alligator out of the pond and beat it to death in the yard with an aluminum baseball bat. I've never seen a human act like that before. He kept shouting, "Release the Kraken, release the Kraken." Tried to walk in on my so getting changed 3 times. Every time it was an accident. Luckily I'd warned her against this, so she was making sure she was as covered up as possible when possible. Eating from the kitchen without asking. I had a guest eat a cupcake that my roommate's grandmother sent from a bakery in their small town in Texas. There was only one cupcake. What a bastard. Refused to eat the lunch I offered to make and went to McDonald's instead, where I was expected to pay. I always fell asleep before a childhood friend, and he would always rebuild my perfectly made Lego sets into something inferior. Now he's in jail for murder. He had bed bugs and we spent the next month trying to get rid of them. When we asked him to leave, he locked himself in the room and refused to come out. Put the bag of Oreos back in the cabinet after having eaten all the filling and leaving just the cookie bits stuck back together. I had friends over when I was in my first year of college. It was a pretty sedate night in my parents' kitchen. We just played board games and caught up. I had my laptop there to play music, but I made a point of moving it to another table and asked people not to put drinks near it. It was brand new and was my first laptop, the most expensive thing I'd ever owned. Of course, my friend insists on putting a full glass of water next to it and ends up spilling it all over the thing. Accidents happen, so I tried to stay calm and not get angry. I was clearly upset though. She then spent the whole night bawling, crying in my toilet about how guilty I was making her feel and how she felt bullied, and when she eventually let me in to talk to her I had to console her and even had to apologize to her for being unhappy with her. The laptop died. My parents' house insurance refused to cover it and she never even remotely offered to pay for it. Now we were all about 18, so it would have been a lot of money for her to offer herself. But my parents were very annoyed that her wealthy parents didn't offer to make a contribution towards the new laptop. I had to get one urgently as exams were coming up. She even made a point of saying a few months later that she had bought my parents a nice bottle of wine to make up for the whole thing. Only then she never even gave it to them. Going through my sofa and desk for spare change. Not even secretly. They thought, or acted like, it was totally normal to pocket all the quarters they could find. Guest got wasted. Out of the blue, he started chugging vodka and wouldn't let go of my girlfriend when she asked. I pulled them apart and he tried to punch me. I ended up pinning him to the ground until the cops and an ambulance came. He was belligerent, yelling "frick you" at the cops. Ended up in handcuffs for his ride to the air. Needless to say, he's no longer welcome. Had a house in college with a few buddies to save money on rent. Had a communal beer rule for all the roommates. We all usually took turns picking up a 12-pack every few days to keep things stocked. Under 21 dude comes over in the middle of the night one weekend with a car full of girls and a cooler. These visits are common. We are used to random friends dropping by at all hours. He heads straight for the fridge with cooler in hand. Okay, cool. Dude got beer somehow and wants to chill. Nope. He is putting our beer in his cooler and then heads for the door. Gets upset when we shut that down and make him put the beer back, and says communal beer bro. Yeah. For the people that pay to live here. Dong. He kicked my cat. I kicked him out the front door. Stormed out after giving him breakfast because I didn't give him some toast. Threw a party. One of the guests got drunk, broke some glass, bled all over the wall, moved this cool framed poster over the blood, drank more of our beer, then disappeared. Urinated all over the floor around the toilet, despite making the effort to put the toilet seat up. He was sober. My friend trimmed his nails and left them on the floor because at his house his mom vacuums every day, whereas at my house we do it, not so often. He's probably the reason she has to hoover every day. My sister had a party at my house back when she was in high school. I was in middle school at the time, and one of her friends got really angry that some guy at the party wouldn't hook up with her. She decided to go through our freezer, find a pizza, unwrap it, and throw it at the guy who was sitting in my living room on the new carpet. Not only did she waste a perfectly good pizza, she left marks on the carpet and also swung the freezer door open so hard that it now makes a horrible cracking noise every time it's opened. She also asked if she could sleep in my bed that night because I was sleeping in the basement with my friends. That bee slept on the floor. Myself and my other flatmate just recently had an argument with our third flatmate over the behavior of his friend while a guest in our house. It's not one thing, because I couldn't choose which I hated the most. He walks right in without knocking. The third flatmate will leave the front door open for him, and he'll just break in through the security door downstairs. We've told them several times to freaking knock, but he just waltzes in whenever he likes, sometimes even when the third flatmate isn't even in the house. His idea of entertainment is to read out graphic accounts of assault from his phone and then laugh at them. I'm not sure if he genuinely thinks it's funny or if he's just trying to be edgy, but either way, what the frick. He also likes to entertain himself by drawing swastikas over my friend's whiteboard. Considering third flatmate is the only person in the flat that likes him and that whiteboard isn't even his, he really needs to stop that crap. We also have reason to believe he snoops through our things and possibly steals food. Needless to say, we've made it abundantly clear he's not welcome in the flat. Invited other people over without asking for my permission. Insult, disrespect my family, especially my father. I quietly asked my friend to leave because he insulted me by making fun of my father's weight. Something like that happened to me once. My little brother is a little shy and doesn't like crowds. She made fun of him and talked crap about him. Needless to say, we do not talk anymore. A guest discarded the fish I had made for lunch because he refused to eat around the bones. The bastard saw me come home from morning ice fishing, warm up, clean the fish, rainbows and bluegill, and fry them up. Took 2 bites and threw it in the trash instead of, say, giving it back to me or leaving his plate on the counter. No respect for the fish or my time and effort. Tells me what to do and how to do it. Was cooking bacon for him and he says you're doing it wrong and, accidentally, dumps all the bacon onto my feet. I still have blisters. We were playing Xbox and he asked if he could download GTA on my Xbox. I said no, because I had almost no space, but when I took a bathroom break, he downloaded it and played it for the whole day. He gave a BJ to some guy we didn't know in our flat, spat it out on the sofa floor. She complained about the decor, my own works, gifted art from friends, floral arrangements, some cute sculptures, etc. Asked me to buy some of her art to replace it. I politely declined. She complained the guest bed was a fold-in-half affair, as the guest room serves other poses. She complained that we buy basics food and wouldn't touch it. She complained that I generally eat paleo and didn't have enough holiday guest food, still wouldn't eat anything that was own brand. She complained it was cold. We live in an older rural house. We had a fire running, but it can still be nippy. We're used to it but did everything to keep the heating up and get her water bottles. You know, being considerate. She complained about how bad our TV was, only basic channels, and that our net was restricted at the time due to cash problems. She complained about how close we are as a couple and tried to turn us on each other, hilariously pathetic, but oh well. She complained we didn't have friends around she could talk to instead of us. Between complaining about the quality of service, she surfed the net on her iPad, talked about her latest expensive clothes, complained about how little she got to eat, complained that she didn't have a partner and generally whined about how little money she had as well as how much cool stuff she had. Also, one of her mates clued us in that she actually had plenty of cash at the time and was just scrounging. We kicked her out after a few days of that. The last day was the worst. So there was this chick that stayed at my house for about 5 weeks while they found a house and it was being prepared. Her husband is an old friend of my dad's, and my dad found this guy a job at his company. They had 2 small children, not including the 2 teens they left behind in Ohio when they moved out to Vegas, ages 3 and 1. List of things the bee did. Told everyone she would cook dinners, only did so once. Also said she would clean up after her small children, never did. She lied to her husband and told him that she had cleaned, when she had actually just stayed on the couch all day. The one night she did cook dinner, she cooked spaghetti. On this day 4 of the 6 people in my family had the runs, so they didn't eat. She yells at my mom about how my mom was afraid her spaghetti sauce was going to be better, so she lied and told us not to eat it. Left sleeping pills out on countertops where my smaller siblings, 7 and 4 years old, could reach them. We still have a ton of old toys from when I was smaller, because I normally took pretty good care of my stuff. This 3-year-old kid broke at least 60 little toys during the 5 weeks, leaving my 4-year-old sister devastated. We eventually kicked them out for these reasons, and then some. My mom, after 4 months, still gets texts like "You're selfish little bee. You use your husband and kids as a doormat." Lots of other stuff. She left diapers out everywhere from her little 1-year-old. Her kids drew on our baby grand piano with orange marker. She didn't even notice. The day she left, she stole our toaster, lots of the toys, and a few other things. I think they are staying in an apartment somewhere, and I hope it's heck for her. Someone broke into my basement and tried to give herself an abortion once, after she fricked my husband in our bed. In high school I threw a party and one of about 10 people hanging out in the basement snapped the neck of my 1972 Les Paul Custom. Nobody came forward. Broke my heart. Snuck away from a casual backyard barbecue to go frick her boyfriend in my basement. I found the used condom on the floor the next day, just hanging out, nowhere near a trash can. You have been visited by the soul of Gabe the dog. Comment, sleep well papa, you will be missed, for heavenly walks throughout your whole life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.